Hey guys, I'm Joe Klemczewski here with Adam Atkinson, and thank you for joining us for Contest Prep University. And Adam, what I want to jump right into in our very first episode is talking about the different methods that people use as peaking strategies. So, there didn't even used to be names for these things, but now we call them backloads and front loads and rapid backloads. And I started doing something a long time ago called an undulating load. It wasn't even named at the time, but I figured I better at least define it now that there are so many. And in the last few years, I've really been doing something called a non-linear or a linear progressive load. So when you hear those names, do you stand on just one, or do you use them all as different tools? I would love to hear your perspective on how to use them all.
Yeah. The first thing is I typically don't even tell a client what kind of load they're doing, because me and you both know we can see something during the peak and it changes the whole ball game. And I think so many people get locked into or almost married to the idea of what kind of peaking load they're doing. And oftentimes clients will ask me, what type of load are we going to do, many weeks out, and we're still getting them ready. But there are different types of loading, and there's definitely benefits and negatives to each one. I'll probably start with the one I use the least, which is the backload. And typically for me, if I backload somebody, it's because they're not quite ready for the contest yet. So we're still dieting down. And then maybe in those last 3 days, we're backing off on cardio, raising calories some, just to get some fullness and some tightness as much as we can into the show.
So you would basically stay pretty dialed in, you're dieting down, and then it's a pretty moderate backload at the end just to make sure they're filling out. That's something you would use for somebody who's still, needing to stay tight.
Exactly, yeah.
So on a rapid backload, that kind of assumes that somebody really needs a lot of calories or a lot of refilling. Is that something you would do for maybe an ectomorph, or somebody that you really need to err on the side of getting fuller?
Yeah, if there's somebody who, they still needed some fat loss, but they actually had a pretty good metabolic rate. I've had clients like this where, you're almost fixing them in the end, and they have a faster met rate than you thought. And you're kind of chasing that intake up, and it goes from a backload and kind of turns into a more rapid backload, we would say. So, and that Friday night's paramount to nail the amount of carbs, because that's really your last moment. Because on show day, your food's just not really going to change anything. So, yeah, it can turn into a rapid backload if you have to.
Yeah, and let's just stay with this theme right now, because I think it would be very interesting to talk about those different nuances for people watching in. And I do understand exactly how you go in with that mindset of, I don't know exactly what this person is going to need or how they're going to respond, because I too have had clients that get into peak week and I think, okay, we might have this slow progressive load. Then all of a sudden they start getting leaner and tighter, and maybe the anxiety of the week, or maybe just, they start getting a little bit more carbs and their metabolism kicks in a little bit. And pretty soon you're almost chasing a rapid backload all the way up to the show.
Yep, exactly. So again, don't get so locked into what you're doing, but you strategize that load and then adjust from there.
And then what do you do in terms of, I don't want to talk about the entire contest day, but are you watching on contest day if somebody's already had a lot of carbs that you just maybe don't need to rely on them as heavily?
Yeah, it's more a sodium and water game from there, making sure they have those fluids to keep the muscle tissue hydrated, and then making sure you have the sodium to keep that fluid in the right places. So, and of course, potassium balance falls into that as well. But that really revolves around the type of food they're kind of eating into the week and what you put on their show day plan.
Exactly. And all details we will talk about in the next upcoming issue. So Adam, thank you very much for being with me, and we'll catch you guys next time for another edition of Contest Prep University.